Today we'll be diving into the pressing issue of the Boko Haram insurgency, specifically the resurgence of recent surge in terrorist attacks in Borno State. Now, the controversy surrounding the government's handling of the situation has sparked a heated debate, with Governor Babangida Zulum and the federal government holding differing views. Recent attacks on military formations, civilian casualties and abductions have raised concerns about the effectiveness of the government's response. Now, Governor Zulum claims the state is losing ground to terrorists, citing recent attacks on military formations and killings and abduction of residents. We saw the report here where we saw exactly what is happening based on what the governor there is saying. But in contrast, Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris asserts that security agencies are working around the clock to bring the situation under control. The Defense Headquarters responded to the governor's concerns, stating that the troops are making significant sacrifices and doing their best to ensure peace returns to Borno and other troubled states. Director of Defense Media Operations Major General Marcus Kange emphasized that the military's efforts should be appreciated, saying, "We are doing our best and we're doing what we're supposed to do, and we are still doing it." Now, the Boko Haram conflict has led to a significant humanitarian crisis, with approximately 1.9 million people displaced and countless lives lost. Rural communities in Bama, Goza, Mate, Ngala and Kukawa continue to witness frequent attacks, abductions and killings. Now, to shed a light on this complex issue, we have retired Brigadier General Jon Temlong joining us today via Zoom from Jos. Now, he's a seasoned expert with experience leading the Multi-National Joint Taskforce in Baga and a researcher on security matters and conflict resolution. So General Temlong will explore and bring valuable insights into this, Boko Haram resurgence. Thank you so much for joining us, General.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. What's your take on, the both sides, on the governor saying that, Borno is losing ground to terrorists, the Minister of Information saying that, it's saying a different story on it, coming out to say that security agencies are working around the clock, and the security agencies confirming that they are working around the clock. What's your take on all of this?
Well, thank you very much. I think what the first thing is to say that my heart reaches out to those who lost their loved ones and those who have displaced at this period in time, not just in Borno, but here on the plateau too, and other parts of the country where we're having these problems. The governor understandably is raising the alarm on the grounds that he thinks that things are being reversed. Looking at what the gains that have been made over the time and his efforts in the non-kinetic effort to complement what the kinetic is doing. If you know, it's a two-pronged strategy of kinetic and non-kinetic to achieve success in the Boko Haram fight. Now, what is happening is that it's normal in all military operations, especially in asymmetric warfare, that you have these sort of reversals once in a while. What the Boko Haram are doing is that they're hard pressed. You remember that there was so much pressure on them to an extent that once it happens like that, they lost their source of income, they lost ammunition, they lost personnel, and then the recruitment source, because the morale sucks and those who want to join them will not. So what they try to do sometimes is to carry out limited operations targeted against some locations which they think are relatively, they can achieve limited success. That way it will bolster their morale and then give them the much needed arms and ammunition that they seek, and then use it as a propaganda to recruit more people that will come into their fold. It's a tactics that they have used even in Iraq, and even in Syria and the rest. So it's not new because they have a link with ISOP. So it's not new that they are doing that. So what I will urge the governor is to remain resolute and not to be discouraged by some of these reversals, because the military commanders that we have now, even those on ground, up to the task, like the Minister of Information reassured that the military is working around the clock to check the situation back on them. There are quite difficult situations that they are operating in. You know that even the Boko Haram have gone even into the space. They're using drones and the rest at some time. So it's quite complex. And from the revelations that we are getting even out from Washington and other capitals of the world, you know that they have linkages and sources of fundings that are not limited within Nigeria. So they have some of these technologies available to them. So definitely they are able to achieve limited success in some areas, surprises because of the use of this technology. But that doesn't mean that they have reversed the situation, that they have the initiative, they are on the offensive, and we're on the run or on the defensive. No. If that's the case, then I think the governor and his government will not probably be in Maiduguri. They will move out, they will have moved out somewhere. So what I want to urge the Nigerian public is that we should continue to have faith in what the armed forces and the government is doing, to reassure them that I will have a crop of gentlemen that are really working around the clock to do that. And you know that it's just about getting to the set of rainy season. When it gets to the rainy season, operations become very difficult in those areas because once it rains, the ground becomes very muddy, it's flooded, flash floods, and the rest. So what they want to do is to make some limited gains now before the rain set in to put their operations on a setback. So it's quite normal, but I think it's being reversed and it will be totally reversed very soon.
All right, General,
thank you.
Can you hear me? All right, despite, the governor coming out to say they're losing grounds, I love the fact that you laid emphasis, that the military are putting in their best and they know what exactly it is they're doing. But having a resurgence after years of this going on, we've not seen an end to it completely. It looked like there was light at the end of the tunnel. What is that? What adjustment is necessary on the part of the military? What did they miss out? Isn't this something they should have, foreseen that might happen? So what would you say they missed out, and what adjustment is needed to be made on the part of the military?
Well, I think what people should to think of is that we are being used to conventional warfare in this country. And I've said it over and over that asymmetric warfare is sometimes referred to as the slow, messy war. It's slow, it's messy. And you could see what happened to one of the best armies in the world, in Iran, in Iraq, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Syria. So it's not something that you have a clear-cut symmetry where you say on this side is us, the other side is them, and then there's a no man's land. Anywhere you see within that area, it's an enemy and the rest. These are people within us. They wear the same dress, they speak the same language, they recruit our own people, they come in and sleep with us, they get all the intelligence that they have about us. You'll be surprised that even those who led the attack onto those locations are people from that area, and those are people who have been friendly with some of the soldiers there and the rest, who now give all the intelligence about them, that look, this is this, this is this, this is this, and sometimes they even lure them. Say, look, all boilers, I'm going on a pass. They know some of those who have gone on passes. They know when people are returning and the rest, when they are most vulnerable and the rest. So it's quite a messy thing. Now, and that is why we're talking about it, an all of society approach. Because if you think you are going to rely solely on the kinetic or the military option, it's not going to go, because these people are from us. They are within us. They are not going to recruit Koreans or Syrians or Chinese to come here. They are Nigerians. They speak the same language. They are from the same community. You can see even what happened in Maiduguri. It wasn't until when the citizens themselves, the youth, said, no, enough is enough, that they know those who are within them who are collaborating with the Boko Haram and giving them intelligence, and even Boko Haram themselves. And they rose against them, giving the military information. And that was the beginning of what you call the CJTF, civilian JTF. Because they said, look, we know these people, they are the ones, they are our brothers, they are our relations, they are our children, and they are the ones perpetrating this evil. So it's all part of a criminal enterprise, a multi-billion naira criminal enterprise that is going on in this country, sometimes in the names of banditry, sometimes in the name of terrorism, sometimes in the names of kidnapping and the rest. So all these are a complete criminal enterprise that is going on, and it needs a concerted effort and all of society approach to handle and tackle these situations.
Right,
it's not just a military option, no. Even what the governor is saying, unless the citizens themselves. Yeah, you want to speak?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Called on the role of citizens. Now, before we get to that fully, let's talk about the splitting and the factionalization, between Boko Haram and ISWAP. What dynamics and change did this bring to the fight against insurgency?
Well, it's not bad. Sometimes I think in 2018, we had, when I was the president of the Alumni Association of the National Defense College, we had a national security seminar which looked at fighting tomorrow's warfare today, and looking at the dynamics of what Huntington talked about, that the clash of civilization, that wars in future are going to be wars on ideas and the rest. Now, and I've said it before that here, that you fight ideas with superior ideas. You fight ideas not with guns, but with superior ideas. And that's how the Iron Curtain dropped between the Soviets and the free wall of Europe, of NATO. Now, what happens is that there is going to be factionalization, which is happening all over in the terrorist groups. There is power tussle, factionalization, and then once they get to that, sometimes they get to fight themselves for supremacy. They fight themselves sometimes to control their turf, and sometimes because they fall out with their leader, or their leaders are high-handed, they now fight and form up their own group. So it's a continuous thing that you continue. You will see that even within the Boko Haram, there are factions. Even ISOP, there are factions. So we will continue to see this. That was what our findings came out with. There will be serious factionalization. And if you look at even what is happening in the southwest, in the northwest, you find out that there are so many factional leaders here and there controlling certain areas and tasks. So it's what is happening too in those areas. So if you see that, sometimes it's good because it weakens the main force, but sometimes it's not good because those forces, they raise it up another strong force that becomes quite problematic to deal with.
All right, General. Now let's talk about cross-border insurgents. We see that Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, specifically Niger, living ECOWAS bloc, has some sort of left a gap in the collaboration between both countries in the fight against cross-border insurgents. So at this point, what would you say, what kind of effect has this had in the resurgence of these insurgents back into Nigeria, and what kind of effect has this had on the fight against insurgency, especially on the part of the military? Where does this leave their fight now that there is little or no cooperation, between both countries in terms of combating cross-border insurgents?
It will definitely have. I think what led to the establishment of the Multi-National Joint Taskforce in the first instance in 1998 was as a result of a request from Niger and Chad to Nigeria that the Lake Chad Basin had become ungovernable. It was being controlled by rebels, and their armed forces of those countries are not able to deal with those situations. And two is that they were cross borders. They will hit in Niger and run into Nigeria, or hit in Nigeria and run into Niger. The same thing in Chad and the rest. Now, Cameroon wasn't part of it initially, but they came in later on because if you go to that area, it's you wouldn't know where the border is. You might be able to see a boundary stone one somewhere, but once you cross, you never know whether you're in Nigeria, Niger, Cameroon, or Togo. So it was at their instance that this force was set up, and Nigeria bear the brunt because I was the first commander. Now, what is happening now is that Niger, opted out of this thing initially. But remember that our chief of defense staff went to Mal and Niamey and had some talks with them, and which made them to see reasons. I just read somewhere again, but I don't. It's not an official source that Niger said they are pulling out. Well, that is definitely going to affect the Air Force because it's going to leave that area around Boson, Gingimi, and the rest quite porous for us. But you see, it's going to affect them too because it's going to make them very vulnerable. Because these people will go in there and will hit, and I think they are able to amass such a force that they will be able to meet them and achieve limited success in their areas more than what they would do in Nigeria. So I think what how they can actually come back fully into the multinational joint task force. It will not do them any good. It will not do anybody good because the terrorism is a war without borders. That's what we call it. They don't have borders, and more so with technology now, they are going to have it very difficult because there's so much pressure on them there. They can't be able to withstand those forces. If you look at what is even happening in Burkina Faso, the people have taken almost half of the country there, the rebels, the terrorists. So it's not just what you see on that they carry out on Interflux or all these TVs that they make propaganda here and there that you think is the actual thing, but they are under so much pressure, so much pressure. The whole thing is that they are trying to stand on their own, but I don't know how long they can stand without getting everybody on board to fight these things. Because you remember, as far as Libya, the Libyan army or Gaddafi was able to recruit people as far as Nigeria and all over the place to go and help them fight. So, I mean, those people can recruit people anywhere to go. And so you need to have a check that a concerted effort by all the countries involved. And terrorism itself is a global threat. So it's not even just an ECOWAS or Sahel thing. So I think they should have a rethink. There is nothing as terrible as you seeing danger and walking into it. I think they should, it is not in their best interest to do that.
All right, thank you, General, for that. Earlier, you had started a line of thought on community role and role of religious leaders in this. Now, I'd love you to throw more light on those non-military measures that are essential to curb the root causes, of extremism and insurgency in, the northern Nigeria region. What are those non-military roles that can be played by community leaders and religious leaders and even community members? I'd love you to throw more light on that and the positive impact they've made over the years.
Thank you very much. I have been, over the years now, I've been advocating for what we call community resilience, building our community to be able to stand shock in whatever way, whether it is pandemic, whether it is insurgency and the rest. You see, my friend once told me, and I agree with him, we were on course then in the United States of America, and he said, look, he said, Temlong, you don't invent the wheel, it has been invented. You don't reinvent the wheel, it has been invented. All you do is to modify it to meet your requirements now. Somebody has done the groundwork. And I think what we need to look at is the community resilience and look at the model of Israel. Israel is one country that has been able to build their communities in such a way that they are self-sustaining, self-defending, and they can withstand pending when major assistance will come to them. They have a very good way of communicating, passing intelligence and information and the rest of them. And that is what we need to do with our communities. That you see our communities are so open, especially the marginal rural communities, where you find out that in some areas there are no communications, but you see, we have a traditional system in those communities. That how are we surviving before the advent of the modern state? We were surviving our communities for the modern states. I tell you, in my place, the Tarok people of Lantown North and South local government, we had a sort of a beagle call, an instrument that we blow, which is similar to what the beagle that we use in the military. In Israel, they use the ram horn. So here we use that horn, that call. There are war calls, there are calls for emergency. And once you blow it, it is relayed all over the whole of the community that there is crisis or there is danger and the rest. And you see able-bodied men coming up with their bows and arrows and axes and everything, getting ready towards where the first bear call was made. I think we need to look at it in the light of that, that look, how can we get our communities back? How do we get the early warning system done? And how do they relate those early warning signs to the authorities? Linking it up with the national security architecture. Now, if you see something, you say something. Who do you say something to? If you say something, is there a backup way of saying it so that if the person that you say to it is not taking it serious, is there another way you can say it? So those things are the ones that should be linked up in with the national security architecture in such a way that the communities are able to pass intelligence and information of value to the security agencies, and there is a follow-up. There is somebody in charge who sits down at the local level, at the community level. They look at and review their intelligence, probably on a weekly, depends on the threat around the area, either on a weekly or daily basis. And then at that time, it goes up to the ward, to the local government level, and then it gets to the state. Unfortunately, honestly, I still am at a pain that our local government councils are yet to get to grasp of what they are supposed to be doing and what is called being chief security officer. Because it is at that level that they are able to have the closest contact with the people that are being handled now. But I tell you, even in my state or any other state, go there now. Go to the local government secretariats. 80% of the chairmen are not in their secretariats now. They are in their state capitals or in Abuja. It moves up even to the state capital too. That the governors themselves, until the president was telling the ACF to tell their governors to remain in their states and govern. Even the governors themselves. If you go to Abuja now, the whole of the place is packed full of governors. They should be back in their state governing. They should be doing what they're supposed to be doing. And that way, you are going to build communities that are resilient, communities that can help themselves, communities that can respond to emergencies quickly, and communities that know what to do. Because if you don't, it's just like I keep saying, that if you teach somebody first aid is for you to be able to stop certain things before the doctors come. Now, if you are not able to do that, if you have a major cut and you are bleeding, you call the medics. They come and carry dead body. You should be able, or somebody should be able to stop the bleeding first before the medical thing comes. So these are what our communities need to do. And in any case, bow and arrow were used even during the civil wars. If you ask the Igbos, they will tell you they were very much afraid of it. Spears were used. How can people come into your community in the night and know your community more than you, and they round you up and kill you like chicken in the whole place? Even chickens, they take evasive action. They run away. If you use one bow and hit one person, hit the other one, they're shouting, they'll run away. Even if they don't run, you would have killed 1, 2, 3 of them. And that way, they will know that there is a price. It's not just they come and round up 50, 60 of us and slaughter us, burn our houses, and go without a single casualty. I think that is not acceptable at all.
Indeed,
because the first law of survival is self-preservation. And self-defense is allowed in law. We definitely have to encourage and teach our people to have the resilience and be able to stand whatever it is. Yes, if you are going to die as a man, not die like a ram. You know, there's a difference between a ram and a goat. If you are taking a goat to a slaughterhouse, it will be crying, shouting, but the ram will just be moving, and that's the end of it. Die as a man.
All right. Thank you very much, General Jon Temlong, for wrapping up the show on a very, very insightful call to action. Calling on communities to also take up responsibilities and share intelligence, and not just leaving it for the security agents who would handle the technical know-how. But communities should also round up themselves and make certain security services available to themselves, so they could also fight it when it comes to the best of their ability, while awaiting for security agencies to step in when the time is right. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning. I would say it's been quite informative. Would look forward to having you from time to time again when we have such issues to talk about. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. Always a pleasure. Have a great day.
You too. All right, that was Brigadier General Jon Temlong there, retired Brigadier General Jon Temlong there, talking about the Boko Haram insurgents, resurgence that is happening in Borno, where the governor came out to say that they're losing ground to terrorists, and saying 3 local governments are under Boko Haram control. Also with the security agencies and the government saying that we're doing our best. So at the end of the day, it boils down to community engagement and governing of ungoverned spaces. Community members speaking up because these people are among you, not aiding them, speaking up and, creating your own security architecture with the help of local government chairmen who have the political will to put in the work. It's a holistic approach from all facets of government, including the people, to see that the lives of people are protected and preserved and saved.